Schools run on a system that was designed over a century ago to educate about 5% of the young men in our society past the 8th grade. That system now is being asked to educate 100% of the men and 100% of the women in our society, and it's not designed to do that.
Educating the teachers in the district on what it means to be an English learner and things that you can do to help the English learners in your classroom is very important as we're getting more and more English learner students.
It's not that the system is broken, it's obsolete. So we need to recreate public schools in a way that will meet the needs of all kids.
Doing a student-led conference pointed out to me how negative parent conferences are in general. You don't tend to call a parent up and say, you know, can you come in, I want to have a meeting with you, your kid is awesome. You don't sit down for 45 minutes with let me tell you all the wonderful things. It just doesn't happen in the traditional model.
I'd like to introduce Miss Persico, my teacher. Miss Persico, I'd like to introduce you to my mom and dad. During this conference, I'll talk to you about writing and reading.
So a student-led conference is different from the traditional parent-teacher conference, and it really is what it sounds like. The students lead the conference that their parents attend, and they talk about their personal learning for the year or for the marking period, for however often you do it.
We told them what it was and that this was the first time we were doing it at the school. You could see they felt very proud and they were kind of excited, and we said, we've never done this before. We think you'll do really well, and we know your parents, would want to hear from you.
Making the time for the student to speak, express his or her feelings, and listening to all that is going on in their school.
At the elementary level, it's more teacher guided. So the students really at our school took a lot of ownership over it, but we kind of pushed them along and asked them questions that they needed to be thinking about.
We were able to put together a student script for them to follow. They were able to pick certain pieces from their portfolio and the different subjects, and they were able to do that with their classroom teachers. So they were a part of that process.
I asked Luis if he wanted to do this, and he said sure. And we sat down and talked about what he wanted to show. I just said, what things in here have you done that you're proud of? So we started listing them. And I said, in a conference with your mom, we also have to talk about your goals. That's something you have to include, and community service, since that's a graduation requirement. So I said, except for that, you pick what you want to do. And he did. So then we set up like things that he wanted to highlight with it. I guided him somewhat.
En mis metas para ser alguien, quiero aprender más inglés, poder llegar al nivel de los demás estudiantes, poder dar las demás clases, aprender mejor y hacer los servicios comunitarios.
It's mandatory that the student does it. If the parents are unable or unwilling to participate, then the student goes to another adult that's significant to them. So then it can be a coach, gym teacher, pastor in the church, can be anybody. So the students can't get out of it.
Because he was presenting this to his mother, I think he really thought about it in a much more adult and serious way, really focusing on not just English in general, but reading and writing, and the community service. What was great for me was finding out that, not that my word doesn't matter, because I think that I'm a role model for them and all that, but that what I think a student will do, or a student needs, or a student wants, isn't what they necessarily want.
Like for all students, it's a way for them to take ownership of their learning, and it's a way to them to explain it publicly. It's about developing communication skills. And for the English learner, developing communication skills can be much more challenging. As they're learning the language, they tend to be reticent about coming out publicly and speaking, all right? And this is one time where they're going to have to. Now, the audience is friendly. It's a friendly teacher. It's a friendly parents, but it's beginning to set the tone for them to own their learning, okay, in a way that doesn't exist traditionally. They're going to own it. They're going to present it. They're going to set goals for what they want to learn. They're going to reflect on work that they've done. And all of that just will help them to become better communicators, and English learners need a strong focus on becoming better communicators. Student-led conferences are a great vehicle to get parents to understand ways that they can support their child, because they'll come and listen to the child. And they will come to school if it's their child talking about their education, and not just being blamed when the kid acts out in class. We want to be there, listen to what our son has to say or our daughter has to say about their education, about their schooling. And then the parents learn from that a lot about their child they didn't know.
I think the parent engagement is such a big deal from these student-led conferences because that first grade parent, for example, they had never attended anything in the school. They came into that, and then they attended the end of the year activity for their first grader. So we built that relationship with that parent just from having her come in for 5 minutes and listen to her son talk about his school year.
We did one of them in Spanish for the mother, and that one was actually really nice because that parent had never been into any other conferences before, mostly because of the language barrier. So when she knew that she was doing it with her son in Spanish, she felt very comfortable coming in. And it was really nice to see the two of them interacting and how proud of him she was, you know, and seeing the work that he did.
The students begin to understand that they own their education. It's not a teacher's education, it's not their parents', it's their education. And they begin to realize that they have charge of things in their education, and they start to put them in place. We want them to leave high school as being in charge of their learning. And this is a step on the road to really helping them being in charge of their learning.
Te doy unas felicitaciones para que sigas adelante. Y gracias, profesora, por ayudar a mi hijo. Muchas gracias, Dios le va a agradecer. Estoy como asombrada, porque cuando comenzó high school me estaba dando problemas, que estaba cortando clases. Ahora al ver que él ha hecho eso, estoy como que no sé si estoy viendo bien o estoy mal, pero como un sueño. Pues, me siento asombrada.
Through the process, they get practice and experience in public speaking. It helps to build their esteem, to know that they can speak publicly and be comfortable in an environment, either in English or in their native language. And all of that helps them to become better communicators as they get older. And it really does help to build their self-esteem. And it helps to build the esteem of the parents, too, when they're there.
They were really confused at first because they'd never done anything like this before. But every single one of them wants to do another one. So they loved doing it. They like showing off to their parents. Like kids, they want to be validated with what they're doing and that they're doing something well. So they had positive feedback from their teachers, they had positive feedback from their parents, and it made them feel really good.
The domino effect of this is we end up with a better educated workforce. We end up with students with a society that has higher self-esteem. We have a society that the benefits to the society in the long run greatly outweigh the cost of doing this, because the cost is virtually nothing.
I'm always surprised at what I learn as a teacher. You know, that I feel like I'm learning as much or more than they are, but just seeing sort of this blossoming young adult emerging from this student and the excitement he had, really proud of him. I'm really proud of him.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice.